sit down, we need for you to turn on the equipment again. The helmet. Okay.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Jennifer Davis.
And make sure you're speaking into the microphone because I know it could be hard for the court reporter to hear. Jennifer, tell me a little bit about your immediate family. Who does that consist of?
My husband, Chris, my oldest Grant, his wife, Gabby, and our granddaughter, and my youngest, Gavin.
And is your family, well, you specifically, are you familiar with Natalie Cochran and her family?
Yes.
What, prior to now, what was your relationship like with Natalie?
We met in 2010, and, we were friends at the time. We weren't close, but we were friends. And then when my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in 2012, we became very close.
And why did you become close at that point?
She was a certified diabetic educator. And when he was released from the hospital in December, we went to the pharmacy to pick up his medicine, and she was working. And she took us in her office, and because it was devastating, we didn't know anything about diabetes, didn't know anything about his medicine, how to dose him. And she took us in his office, showed us how to give him shots, told us things like that.
So she provided diabetic counseling for your son?
Yes. And then for the longest time, I'm not sure how long, anytime he would eat, I would, if the carbs weren't counted, because in order to give him insulin, you'd have to count all the carbs. And if they weren't counted, on the back of a box or something, if we were just eating a plate of food, I would take a picture and text it to her. And she was very good. She knew exactly like how many carbs that there was in that meal and how much, dosage to give him.
So it sounds like you all ultimately became pretty close.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes, we're very close. Yes.
Were you also, outside of Gavin's diabetes, were you also friends?
Yes. Yes, we were.
Did you go over to the Cochran's house?
Yes, we went to each other's house. We went to the movies together. We went to eat. We went to sporting events together. So yeah.
Were your and Natalie's husbands also friends?
Yes, they were friends.
Would you consider them close friends?
Yes.
In the times that you went over to the Cochran's house, did you ever take your kids with you?
Yes.
Did you ever ask Natalie to keep any sort of diabetic supplies handy for Gavin?
No, there was never any need to.
And why was there not a need to?
Because we had that at our house, and they lived close enough that she didn't need anything.
Okay. Did you and Natalie share a lot of personal details about your lives when you were friends?
I think so, yeah.
Would you say that you shared both good and bad experiences?
For sure, yes.
Okay. Do you recall any negative experiences that Natalie might have shared with you about her husband?
They would argue, just like
Sure.
any typical,
Like anyone else?
Yes, yeah. Like, me and my husband would argue, they would argue, yeah.
Just very briefly, I want to touch on something, and we won't spend much time on this, I promise. You're familiar with the Cochran's business, TSG, Tactical Solutions Group?
Yes.
Did you and your husband invest any money with them?
Yes, it was my husband and two of his partners.
Okay, but none of
Business
your
partners.
personal money, it was him
Correct.
and his business partners?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Now I want to go ahead and move on to the date that we all know Michael fell ill for the last time, and that's February 6th of 2019.
Okay.
And Your Honor, at this time, I would like to have this marked as State's Exhibit 2, I believe it is. It's just the text messages between Natalie and Jennifer.
Is it two?
Yes, it's 2.
All right, very well.
I'm going to be attempting to use the projector, so if everybody could just bear with me while I do my
You'll
best.
be
to
very
figure it out. I may need the bigger self, actually. Jennifer, I'm gonna, if it's okay with the judge, I'm gonna approach you before I put these on the projector.
Okay.
Okay,
You may proceed.
thank you, Judge. I'm gonna take those back.
Okay.
Okay, Jennifer, can you just briefly review what you have in front of you and tell me what that looks like?
They're texts between me and Natalie on February the 6th.
And is that how they would have appeared when they were on your phone?
Yes.
Do they appear to have been altered in any way?
No, and they're still on my phone. I don't delete or erase anything, so they would still be there today.
So these text messages still look exactly the same as they do on your phone today?
Yes, correct.
What year are we talking about, please?
Oh, 2019.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Jennifer, how do you know that you were speaking with Natalie when you were having these conversations?
Because that was our text stream that we had since forever, for years.
Okay.
Could you speak a little louder? I'm having trouble hearing.
All right, if you could speak a little
I'm
louder.
sorry.
Hold that microphone closer, and I think that would
Yes.
help this better.
Okay.
Much better.
I'm gonna actually do the same.
Okay.
Okay, Jennifer, I'm gonna display some of these text messages between you and Natalie on the
Okay.
projector. And if you could just read these off to me and to the jury when I put them up here,
Okay.
okay? And I'm not gonna put all of them up here, I promise.
Okay.
Judge, before we do that, may we approach on this one? This is.
Yeah.
Baby, this child here. Oh, let's see. Football team. But I think that's because
All right, you may continue and take order.
Thank you, Your Honor. Jennifer, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Can you just explain to me what's going on in this conversation?
Is there any way we could tighten that up a little bit? I'm not sure the jury can read it. Are you folks having a hard time reading it? Or can you see it? You have better eyes than I do.
I know, I'm standing right in front of it. Okay. Can you just explain what's going on in that conversation?
Yes, she said that her and Mike, they were both sick, and I think they had the flu or the norovirus, is what we were told either before or after. And she had to start taking small insulin shots. I'm going to have to order a vial. I know she said that the flu and the norovirus had hit her hard and made her more sick because of the cancer that she had. So then I had asked her if she was going to the cancer center or Dr. Halsey. And then I volunteered a vial of insulin if she needed it. And she went to Halsey today.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. The document speaks for itself.
I can ask a different question, Your Honor.
Okay, I think that's a fair objection, Ms. Acorn, maybe you can ask us some questions.
So Jennifer, at this point, you were offering to help out a friend in need. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And I'm going to remove that sheet. Jennifer, just looking over this one, did she accept your offer of help?
Yes, she did. She asked if she could borrow a vial of insulin.
Did you provide that insulin to her?
I didn't personally. I was running late. I was going to the church's mission center that day, and I had put together a few drinks, and I put the insulin in a bag and gave it to my husband, and he dropped it off on the porch on the way to work.
What sort of insulin did you put in that bag, if you remember?
It was Humalog. That's what my son takes, is Humalog.
Was it a new bottle?
Yes.
Did you require a prescription to get that particular type of insulin or no?
Yes. No, you have to have a prescription for that.
Okay. You didn't send any needles over with it though?
No.
If you'll just bear with me for a second here, you guys had a lot of conversations. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So, did you understand what Natalie was talking about when she made this statement that Mike was so mad about not being able to go somewhere if he had to take two of the blood pressure pills? Do you know where they were supposed to be going?
They were going to Virginia.
I'm going to object. This may be based on hearsay.
We won't know if it's based on hearsay until she responds.
Well, then we need to establish the foundation, whether it's based on hearsay.
All
or
right,
not.
maybe you could establish a little foundation.
Did you have any conversations with Natalie previously about where they were two going that day?
Yes, they were borrowing our plane to go to fly to Virginia.
And that was a conversation that you and she directly had, not that you heard from someone else?
Correct.
Okay, Jennifer, can you tell me who that's a picture of?
Mike.
That's Mike. And Natalie sent you that photograph?
Yes.
Did she provide any context for that? Did she call you or anything, or is this, you
No.
just received this out of the blue?
Just that.
What did this picture mean to you when you received it?
I mean, just
Judge, I'm going to object to this form of question. What do you mean to?
I think it's fair, I'm not gonna overrule the objection. The witness can answer.
just that it was just shocking that he was laying there.
But you didn't know what his condition was at that point? Is
No,
that fair?
no.
Do you know what these numbers mean that are featured in the below text message from Natalie? Or did you know at the time what they meant?
She was just giving his vitals.
Now, at this point, your husband had already dropped off the bag of insulin.
The prosecutor is testifying, Your Honor.
Yes,
Assuming the
you
facts
could
are not
rephrase
the
the
evidence.
question.
Sure you are. Had Chris already gone by their house at that point in time?
He went there that morning.
Had you been by their house at any point that day?
I did later to drop off more drinks.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact time. but it was after that picture.
Now, I'm gonna put that same screenshot back on here for just a second. One of those readings says BG 145. What is that reading?
Again, unless we establish that the witness has some type of knowledge.
Your Honor, I believe we have established that the witness has some type of knowledge about what that could mean, because once she answers, I believe we'll know that her son, being a diabetic, gives her that knowledge herself.
Perhaps you could ask her if she does have that knowledge.
Okay. Jennifer, do you have knowledge of what the BG stands for in that set of vitals that you spoke about earlier?
Yes, BG is blood sugar. We would always refer to Gavin's blood sugar as BG or BS. It was always one or the other.
And not speaking about Michael, but speaking about your general experience with diabetes with your son, what does that number mean to you?
That is high. That is a, for a non-diabetic or even a diabetic, it's 80 to 120 is the normal range. So 145 is a high blood sugar.
And you just know that because your son's diabetic, is that right?
Correct.
Did Ms. Cochran ever provide you with the reason that she sent you that photograph?
No. No.
Did she explain to you what she believed had happened to Michael to put him in that position?
Later on said that he was sick and he threw up in the sink and collapsed or passed out.
Did you ever visit the house after that point in time on that date?
Like I said earlier, I had dropped off drinks, but I don't remember what time that was. And I didn't go inside.
Did Natalie tell you if she had called for help or anything of that nature?
No.
Did she tell you if she'd contacted anyone else?
She had said that Stephanie and John Hamilton were coming by. And then the contractors were the ones that actually got him from the kitchen to the couch.
Now, I know you ultimately didn't go to the house that day. Did your husband go that you're aware of?
Yes, he went that evening.
And then after that, do you know what happened to Michael?
Once Chris got there, and I don't remember the time, sometime between 7 and 8, I'm not sure, that night, he took him to the hospital.
Objection.
All right, thank you, Brown.
That's hearsay.
Pardon?
That's hearsay.
Overruled. Go ahead.
And lack of personal knowledge, that's enough.
I'll overrule the objection. Continue, Ms. Davis. You may have to rephrase the question or ask it again.
I believe the question was, do you have any knowledge of what happened to Michael after the time that your husband had arrived at the house?
My husband took him to Raleigh General, and we were texting. He had called me to let me know that.
Please note my continuing objection to any type of hearsay or statements by any other third party.
All right. Do we anticipate that Mr. Davis will testify in this trial?
Yes, we will, Your Honor.
All right, with that understanding, I'm going to allow it. Go ahead, Ms. Davis.
They took him to Raleigh General, and I'm not sure how long he was there, but he was on a ventilator quite soon from the time he got there, and then they end up transporting him to CMC that night.
And do these text messages support your recollection of how that went?
Yes.
And in fact, Ms. Cochran herself advised you that he was put on a bench?
Correct.
Now, while all of this was going on, did you all have an event that was going to be happening with the Shady Spring youth sport, excuse me?
Yes, the middle school baseball was having a bingo with the high school volleyball, Shady, for a fundraiser that Saturday evening.
Did you and Ms. Cochran discuss that while Mike was in the hospital?
Yes, because she was working on getting everything together. And I mean, she was, organizing it, so she was still working on it.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to find a good way to phrase this. Did you find it odd at all that she continued to work on bingo while her husband was incapacitated?
Judge, I'm going to object to that. That's a comment on the defendant's character.
Sustained.
This comment, I hope the swelling affects the mean side of his brain and the rest stays good. What did
Oh,
you
wow. That's a hell of a thing to say.
Your Honor, now we're entering the area of medical knowledge. This witness is not qualified to interpret this medical information.
Your Honor, I don't believe we're entering the area of medical knowledge. She's simply talking about the decedent being mean.
I think so too. I don't think this has any relation at all to medical terms or knowledge. I'll overrule the objection and permit the witness to testify.
Just that, the mean side of his brain where, if he would get grouchy or, get mad, that's how I took that.
But there's nothing about Michael that stood out to you as particularly more mean than any other person?
No.
This one's a little blurry, so forgive me. But if you can tell me, Jennifer, what is that photo of?
That's at Raleigh General when they're working on Mike.
And that photo also came from Natalie?
Correct.
That very first text message, Jennifer, if you could just read that to yourself for me. Do you have any personal knowledge of what sort of meds Natalie's talking about at this point, about getting Mike off of?
He would take supplements for working out, like the kinds you get at GNC or whatever. Like that was my knowledge. Pre-workout and things like that.
This is another photograph that was sent to you by Natalie. What is that photograph of?
Once again, Mike, I believe that's it. Raleigh General.
Now, with this question, I'm not asking you to speculate at all, but I'm asking you for your personal knowledge, given that your son is diabetic, okay?
Okay.
BG this AM is 44. If your son's blood glucose is 44, what would you expect to see?
If he wasn't already in a coma at 44, he would be very close to it. Anytime he had low blood sugar, he would get sweaty, clammy. His legs would get weak. When it was super low, it would even start going into his arms. He couldn't feel his arms.
Now, while all this was going on, were you also handling all of the bingo organization for Natalie at home?
I was helping. I wasn't in charge of anything, but I was trying to help and do what I could.
Did you get to go up and visit Michael at any point while he was at CAMC?
Yes, we went every day.
And did you see him awake at any point while you were there?
No, he was never awake.
What was Ms. Cochran's demeanor like while you were there?
Going to object to that.
Oh,
She was very calm. She was in, just in control. I felt that she was strong. She was, I guess normal as you can be.
What sort of condition was Michael in when you saw him?
He was intubated. He was non-responsive. He just laid there.
And then shortly after that, he was moved to hospice, is that right?
Correct.
Did you ever get to see him while he was there?
Yes.
Did you speak with Natalie a lot while you all were visiting Mike at hospice?
Yes, we did. We spoke often.
And did you offer to help her at any point?
Yes. I tried, I was trying to be there for her and just comfort her. Like I said, I felt that she was been strong. But, I had even asked her at one point if there was anything that I could do to help her, anything I could get for her. And she had made a very just odd comment. She said, if you could help me hold a pillow over his face, because I don't like seeing him this way.
And at hospice, is that the last time that you ever saw Michael alive?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
cross-examination, Mr. Vick.
Ms. Davis, first I want to ask you about the losses that your husband's company sustained as a result of this fraud. What were your losses?
It was with him and his business partners, so it wasn't any personal loss of ours. He was the third.
Well, let me ask you about your husband and his partners. How much did they lose?
They lost over $500,000.
$500,000. Your husband at some point was Natalie Cochran's attorney, right?
He would have to answer that, but yes.
Well, do you know or not?
Well, yes, he did.
Okay. And yet, after he and his company lost over $500,000, he testified against her in federal court, didn't he?
Correct.
Okay. Her own attorney.
He was not representing her at that time.
Okay. Okay. And let's talk about this Humalog for a second. You know that there are two types of insulin. One is Novolog and one is Humalog, right?
Correct.
And you know that because your son, very sadly, is afflicted with diabetes 1, as we call it, right?
Yes.
Which is a very serious problem.
Yes.
Well, Novolog, you cannot get over the counter, true?
You cannot get it over the counter.
But Humalog, you can.
Humalog, you can't. That's a prescription.
You cannot?
You cannot. It's a prescription.
And so if there was any testimony here that you can, of course, that would be incorrect in your mind.
Right.
I see. All right. Now, you, of course, do not know, well, let's strike that. Is your testimony here today that Natalie Cochran never had any medication for your son?
Correct.
Did you in fact allow her to pick up the medication for your son from the pharmacies?
Yes, she would pick up medicine and then drop it off at the house.
I'm going to ask you again whether she was allowed to have the medication in her possession for your son.
Yes, but she did not take it home with her.
Yes or no, ma'am?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to. I'd like to mark this. Defense exhibit
Number 8.
number 8.
Thank you.
If I may approach the witness.
Yes, you may.
Gonna hand you what's been marked, the defendant's exhibit number 8, and ask you whether you would recognize this document.
Yes, I've never seen it before, but
What would this document be, ma'am?
it's showing the doctor that prescribed Gavin his insulin.
Would you turn to page 2? I'm sorry, page 3. Who was picking up that medication for?
Natalie.
All right. I'm going to ask that this exhibit be admitted into the evidence.
Any objection, Mr. Truman,
No, Your Honor.
or Ms. Akins, I'm sorry. It is admitted into evidence.
How many times has Natalie Cochran picked up medication for your son, ma'am?
I'm not sure how many times.
Numerous times. Would
Yeah.
it be fair to say?
Yes, I would say yes, several times.
And was always a Humalog, right?
Not always.
Not always?
No, because he had other prescriptions.
Okay. Have you ever injected Humalog into your son's body?
Yes.
What dosage? A vial?
It was from the vial. I don't remember what dosages because it would all depend on what he ate. So
Okay.
I don't know, like I can't say right off.
Okay. Were there any times that you would inject the whole vial into his body?
Oh, never, no.
Never?
No,
Half a vial?
no, just
No.
very little.
Very little.
Yes, like a millimeter or it just, like I said, it depends on the dosage.
And every time you injected the vial into his body, he didn't drop unconscious on the floor, did he?
No, but several times I had actually dosed him too much insulin and he got to the point where he would almost, pass out. His blood sugar would drop real low. And we were able to give him a glucagon, which would bring his blood sugar back up.
But I asked you whether ever, upon your injection of Humalog into his body, he lost consciousness and dropped
No,
either on the floor or anywhere.
no,
No. Now, would you agree with me that you're not a doctor, right?
correct.
You're not an endocrinologist.
No,
You're not an expert in this field. All you can tell this jury about medication involving diabetes is from what you observed as the mother of an ill child, right?
Right.
Okay. Would you agree with me, ma'am, that different human bodies react differently to medication?
yes,
So you have absolutely no idea how Michael Cochran reacted and to what medication.
correct.
I want to ask you now about Michael a little bit. You've known this family since 2010 until, well, 2019, I presume.
Correct.
Michael, you said, was taking steroids, right?
I never said that.
Now, what did he take?
I always knew him to take the supplements that you would get from GNC and over the counter, but I never knew him to take actual steroids.
You have absolutely no clue what this gentleman was taking.
Only what Natalie had told me.
Right. And did you ever see him take any medication?
No.
No. He was a bodybuilder, wasn't he?
Yes, he lifted weights.
Cared about his image of his physique, right?
Yes.
In fact, he was taking substances that were less than kosher. Did you know about that?
No, I did not.
Did you know that he was taking substances that were sold online from Mexico or some other wild place?
I did not until the day that he fell ill. She had said that was taking Mexican supplements, but I didn't know that until the day he fell ill and she had texted.
Well, it's strange. Now, did you ever talk to your husband about Michael taking any supplements?
I mean, yeah, he knew that he took supplements as well.
Now, didn't your husband try to dissuade Michael from taking all that stuff?
Yes, that was after Mike was diagnosed with seizures,
Right.
and he
So
talked
Mike-
about not taking the
So,
medicine.
so
Sorry.
Michael had some medical problems, didn't he?
Yes,
Well, let's start with 2017. He had a back problem and had to go to hospital for back surgery, right?
yes, I believe.
That may not have had anything to do with seizures, but in October of 2018, he went to the hospital with the conditions that were similar to when he collapsed on the floor, didn't he?
Yes,
Okay. What was the diagnosis then on him?
Objection, Your Honor, how is she expected to have that information?
Sustained.
Did you talk to him after he came out of the hospital in one day?
yes, we would have spoke, yes.
Did he tell you that he hated hospitals with an unbridled passion and would never go back to a hospital?
I knew his disdain for hospitals, yes.
And then he wasn't unlucky because on the second day of November of that year, he went to the hospital with the same conditions that similar conditions or maybe even the same conditions that he had when he collapsed on the floor. Didn't he?
Yes,
And stayed in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, right?
I don't remember the exact time.
Now, do you know what was wrong with him?
I don't know if it was at that time that we were told that he was diagnosed with seizures.
Seizures. Did you also hear anything about his brain swelling?
I know they had done MRIs and CAT scans, but I don't remember if it was the November visit or the October visit.
Well, did they say anything about his having a mass on the brain?
I remember they said something about having a mass on the brain, but then the next scan showed that there wasn't anything.
But then they said that he had brain swelling, right?
I don't know.
You don't know.
No.
What did he appear to you like when he was in the hospital at that time? Sluggish? Slow reacting? Tell us.
I mean, by the time that I had seen him, he was talking and everything. I mean, he wasn't feeling well, but I didn't see him right away. So
All right. In February of next year, so it's almost 2 months later, did he appear to you to be sick?
he wasn't sick, no, not
No?
until today.
No, he wasn't sick until that date, until the 6th of February.
Right, that I'm aware of.
Okay. When did you see him last before the February 6th?
I don't know if it would have been the day before or a couple of days before that, because he came over and put a ceiling fan in our living room. But I don't know the date of that exactly, but it was a few days before.
if there were other people who saw him acting very strange and sick and otherwise almost incapacitated, would that surprise you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, you have absolutely no idea what Michael took in terms of the names of the medications or the supplements or whatever medication he was taking.
I do not know.
Do you know how long he has been taking these supplements?
No.
Have you ever talked to Natalie's children about Michael's use of steroids, anabolics, whatever he was using?
I don't remember if we did.
Okay. Well, they were there all day in their home. They would know, wouldn't they?
They would know. I wasn't there though, so
Okay.
that wasn't anything I discussed with them.
Okay. Did you ever ask Michael what he was taking?
No.
Well, did you know that he was eating these medications by a plateful?
No, I did not.
Did you know that he was using insulin regularly on a regular basis?
No, I did not.
Okay. How many times did Natalie Cochran pick up this Humalog for your son prior to February 4th?
I don't know how many times.
How many times did she pick up that insulin Humalog after Michael's demise?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay. And if she did she ever take that medication home? Or is it your testimony here today that invariably she would bring it to your house?
I mean, I can't say for certain. I don't know.
So if
I would assume she would bring it straight to me because that would be something that we would need to put in the refrigerator.
so, the insulin that was found in her refrigerator, that would be abnormal, wouldn't it?
She shouldn't have any of, I know my son's insulin because he needed that.
Right, but if law enforcement officers found a Humalog vial in her refrigerator, what would that tell you?
I don't know.
Right. So is it possible, Ms. Davis, that as you sit here today, you don't know how many times Natalie Cochran took that medication, that insulin, to her place, where she stored it, what she did with it?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Now, also, I want to ask you this. When Michael was putting up that fan in your house, he had trouble doing that, didn't he?
I don't remember. Him and my husband worked on it. I just know he was there to put up the ceiling fan.
But you didn't know how he acted that day.
I don't recall.
I see. All right. Might have a second.
So I don't know too much about insulin, but I'm going, oh, shoot.
There was a time when your son used the pump, the insulin pump, right?
Correct.
Okay. Then why would you need the regular Humalog if you had a pump?
Because that's what you use to fill the pump. We would have to use Humalog and inject it into his pump before we put his insulin pump on his arm.
And if the pump didn't work,
If the pump didn't work, then we would refill a new one
okay?
and put it back on him.
So is that your testimony that you always had either the pump or the insulin?
Yes, he cannot live without either.
Okay. All right. You said that you observed Natalie in the hospital while Mr. Cochran was there. And you said she acted strong?
Yes, I thought she was strong. Yes.
What other words did you use?
She was calm.
Calm. And yet she was so concerned that she didn't want to see Michael in that condition. And she would rather see him dead, right?
I didn't say that.
Well,
I
you
just-
said something about putting a pillow on his head.
I asked her what I could do to help or if there's anything I could get her.
Ah.
And she had made that comment.
Would you agree with me, ma'am, that people act very differently in situations like that?
Yes,
And people are distraught by the very fact that their loved one may be on a threshold of death, and they say things and do things that they would not normally not say or do.
yes.
So you may find this odd, what my client may have said, but you're not a psychologist and you cannot say anything about that comment that would make you believe that she's guilty of anything. Right?
Correct.
Now, when were you informed of Mr. Cochran's condition on the, what was it, the first day?
The second,
Well, in relation to the shot that he supposedly got from, well, I guess you would claim Natalie.
I'm sorry, what is your question?
Well, there is, we're looking at a shot that was apparently administered to Mr. Cochran. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that.
You didn't
I'm
say-
not sure your question.
So you don't even know whether his condition was caused by any shot of insulin.
No, we don't know what his condition was caused by.
Okay. Well, Natalie texted you and told you that she was sick that day.
Correct.
Now, you've known her for a long time, and you knew that she had several medical conditions. Right.
Yes, she had found out she had cancer and it was stage 3, I believe.
And she was being treated for it, or at least being diagnosed with it, or required a second opinion during that time, right?
Yes,
And she also had a heart problem that required all kinds of attention, medical attention,
yes.
correct? Now, well, since you know so much about insulin, what else can insulin be used for in a household?
In my life, it's only been used for diabetes. I don't know what else you would use it for.
Bringing the sugar up or down?
It brings your blood sugar down.
All right. So if Natalie Cochran had a problem with her sugar, not necessarily diabetes, would you find it really strange that she had diabetes in her, and that she had insulin in her home?
No,
No. Did your son have to take any steroids? Was he given any steroids as part of his treatment of
for diabetes, no.
Now, do you have any medical knowledge to assess the effect of any steroids on sugar? Or
No,
would you not?
I don't have any knowledge, no.
All right. Natalie told you that day that she was taking steroids, right?
Yes,
Do you have any reason to doubt that?
no,
And that the steroids caused her sugar to rise. She told you that, right?
yes, she told me that.
And so when she used some insulin, or whether she had insulin at home, for that particular purpose, you wouldn't find it, you wouldn't find it strange that she did.
No,
Okay. No. Was Mike, uh, no, Michael Cochran, ever sick in your presence?
Yes,
And I'm not talking about February. I'm talking about any other times. What was he?
Yes.
What was he sick with?
we thought, and I don't know if it was the October or November, that it was mold,
Okay.
possibly poisoning or mold
And
exposure.
how did he react?
He was sick and nauseous. I don't remember more than that.
Did you ever see him collapse?
I never saw him collapse, no.
Did you hear about him collapsing?
Not other than that day,
How about having convulsions or
No.
epilepsy?
no.
Have you ever heard him talk about not taking his medication because he didn't really care about the doctors and medical care?
Natalie had told us that he had stopped taking his seizure medication.
Well, and you as a friend of Michael, did you ever approach him about that?
No, I
Did you
did
ever-
not.
Did anybody talk to him about it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, what is your profession, man?
I'm a stay-at-home mom.
I'm sorry. I'm so
I'm a
sorry.
stay-at-home mom.
Oh, you have the tough one. And I'm very sorry about your child having diabetes. That's this is a pretty serious illness, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Now, have you yourself participated in any business transactions with Natalie or Michael Cochran?
She would help with the juvenile diabetes fundraisers.
Okay.
She would sponsor those, and we did a motorcycle rally. She held a couple of those for him,
Mhm.
and also a 5K run for diabetes.
Did Michael live in luxury?
I mean, just normal as anyone else would,
Beautiful.
in my opinion.
Beautiful house?
Yes, they had a beautiful house.
They had more than one house, right?
Yeah, they did buy other property, yes.
Okay. How about, well, we men call it toys. Motorcycles,
Yes.
how many did he have?
I know of one. I don't know if he had multiple. I mean, I do know of the one because he rode it in the motorcycle rally.
He has a pretty nice car too.
Yes.
What was it?
He had a truck, a pickup truck.
Didn't he have an antique 65? Very sexy car, an antique.
Yes, I don't remember
You don't remember that?
but now it was a Cobra. Yeah.
Cobra, all right. Did you go on any vacations with them?
Yes, we did.
Who paid the bill?
Well, we would pay for our half and they would pay for their half. And
Did Michael ever treat?
yes, we would treat their meals and they would treat our meals.
Would you agree with me that he was at his absolute happiest when he had the money?
I mean, I don't know.
Was he acting
I don't know
very
if he
happy?
was at his happiest during that time.
Okay. Would you agree with me that he was a dominant character in the marriage to Natalie?
Yeah, as my husband is as well with me.
Well, I'm concerned about Michael and Natalie. What Michael said, that was the law, right?
I believe so.
Okay. How did he treat the children?
He treated him like any normal dad.
They had everything that they could have under the sun. He would buy them everything. They would have their own luxury life. Isn't that true?
He would buy them whatever they needed.
Okay. How about money per se? Did he ever flash the cash, so to speak?
No. I don't
Never
know.
never took anybody out to eat, paid for everybody?
Well, yes, he would do that.
He would do that. Now, what do you know about Michael's business? What did he do for a living?
They were doing the government contracts.
Okay. Michael?
It was him and Natalie.
Okay. What was his role in this government contracts thing?
I don't know. I don't know his exact role.
Okay. But he talked about it?
Yes, they would talk about it.
Well, what did he tell you about?
I didn't talk personally to him.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just when we were in a setting together.
All right. I'm gonna ask you about your husband ever working out with him? Or did you ever work out with him?
No. I don't know if my husband ever did.
He was trying to be a bodybuilder, or at least he was a bodybuilder, right?
During the time we knew them, he would lift weights.
Okay.
To be a professional bodybuilder, I don't know about that, but he would lift weights during the time we were friends with him.
Was he proud of his physique and
Yes.
musculature? He liked to be seen as fit and nimble and whatever else, right?
Yes.
Did he spend a lot of time in the gym that you know?
I don't know.
Okay. Where was their business, by the way? The contract business. Where was their office?
They had a building on Eisenhower Drive.
Okay. Describe that. Was there any front desk, secretary, the office decorations? What?
I don't remember much about it. I remember there's a couch, a little kitchenette,
Not much of an office.
and then, I don't remember much about it other than that.
Okay. Now, you obviously knew that Natalie was a pharmacist, right?
Correct.
Did you know about her reputation in the community as a good pharmacist? Knowledgeable?
She was very knowledgeable.
She was very knowledgeable. She was knowledgeable of more than just insulin, right? She knew about other substances.
I believe she also took care of maybe people on cholesterol medicine, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. She had years of experience as a pharmacist, right?
Yes.
Well, that person would have knowledge of all kinds of drugs, right?
I would assume, yes.
Even those drugs that kill silently.
I don't know what she would have knowledge of.
Yeah. I want to ask you this. You were, if not the closest friend of Natalie, at least one of the closest friends. At the time of Michael's death, would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Would it then surprise you that Natalie, who was obviously in distress over her husband's condition, would be notifying you every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, every hour as to what his sudden condition is? Would it surprise you? Would it shock you?
Would it surprise me if she did or if she didn't?
If she did.
Either way, it wouldn't surprise me.
No, or if she didn't. Either way, it wouldn't surprise you because you were her friend.
Right.
And she had her, well, by the way, do you know how long they were married?
18, 19 years, maybe.
High school, were they high school sweethearts? Do you know?
They told us they were high school sweethearts, yes.
Yeah. So this woman who has just put her husband in a hospital, who may be in a coma, she needs to talk to somebody about it. And that would be you. Would that be anything shocking to you?
No.
Okay. And she didn't tell you anything that would suggest to you that she was the one who, for lack of a better phrase, executed him.
No.
Of course not. If I may have a second.
All right.
Not when she tell you she the one who executed him. This guy, I need to hire him in case I get in trouble. God forbid.
What was the backup plan for your son? And I'm just gonna use the word, well, the letter G. I don't want to bring children's names into this.
His name is Grant and Gavin are my sons.
Okay, well, out of the respect for him, we don't necessarily want to bring him into public knowledge.
Right.
How old is he now?
My youngest is 19.
Okay, so he's an adult by now.
Yes.
What was the backup plan if you could not, for some reason, administer the medication to him? Then was Natalie in charge of that?
No, my husband, if I couldn't, then my
Okay.
husband would.
Was there any contact with the school where your child was attending? That if you could not be there, that Natalie would be called to administer the medication?
I don't remember that because
Okay.
the first year he was on shots, he didn't allow the nurse to even give him shots. I had to go to the school every day
Okay,
to give him shots. So I don't know.
okay. If I may have a second.
Very well.
All right. Once again, thank you guys for being here at Trial Watch with Demetra. We are watching the Skazi Ponzi Scheme wife
Thank you, Ron.
murder trial.
Redirect the lengthy, Ms. Acorn.
No, Your Honor, it won't.
You may proceed.
Thank you.
We're going to end for today on this after this witness full testimony.
The vital signs that we talked about earlier that Natalie texted to you, were you ever able to verify that those actually were Michael's vitals at that time?
No.
Do you know who set up all of Michael's supplements and medications?
I know, well, Natalie had told me that she always, would set everything up.
Did you ever have Natalie pick up insulin for Gavin and not receive it?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And just on a personal level, have you ever had a loved one, even Gavin, who became seriously ill?
Yes.
Did it occur to you to take photographs of them while they were ill?
No.
Did it ever occur to you to attempt to end their life because they were so ill?
No.
And I know that you and Natalie were very close prior to Michael's death, and even for a little while afterwards. Was she always honest with you during that time?
Judge, I'm going to object as the comment on the defendant's character.
I think I must sustain that objection.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, anything further, Mr. Victor?
The prosecuting attorney right now asked you whether she, that is my client, Natalie Cochran, was setting up medication for her husband, and you said yes?
I don't remember if they were pill boxes or what, but his normal like daily medicine, whether it was vitamins or whatever, she would always put together for him.
And you know that for a fact?
That's what she told me. So
And she would, so you presumed, I guess, that she would put up all the supplements from Mexico and from some other God only knows what place on his plate? Is that what you assumed?
just whatever she told me.
You went to the Cochran's home, right?
Correct.
Have you ever seen their medicine cabinet?
If I recall, it was, and I don't remember what was in it, it was just by the sink in a cabinet.
Would it surprise you to know that Michael had his own medicine cabinet that nobody had access to? Would it
Yes.
surprise you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's all. Thank you.
Anything further, Ms. Acorn?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any difficulty?
Okay, so we have definitely ended for today this part 1, right, of the Ponzi scheme wife murder trial. That was quite interesting, with that witness, because on one hand, when she testified, she's the neighbor, she's the friend. According to the state and under the state's direct questioning, she's the one who, is definitely that she dropped off some insulin to her friend because she needed it because she didn't have none. Right? She also talked about how the lady didn't call nobody. So it seemed like even though they was both friends at one point in time, like she kind of doubted or not trusted what happened, that day. But it was even stranger, and I can't wait to hear the testimony. I guess it's going to be obviously put forth by the defense. I think the defense is really building the case doing that testimony, like the victim Michael was almost like some type of steroid junkie. He used words like a plate of drugs. He ingested a plate of drugs these days. Now he's talking about a locked up secret drug cabinet, medicine cabinet, right? And then it's very interesting. I think when they was talking about the testimony and the state was asking her about how was the defendant's behavior or reaction when they took him to the hospital, her husband, she was coming across to see me like very cold-blooded. And I still think she comes across cold-blooded. Who texts their friend, even their best friend, when a husband or a loved one, anybody, is in the hospital and has a brain swell? Well, I wonder if it's gonna help the side of his brain that he mean, the mean side of his brain. Who said something like that? That's very suspicious and very cold-blooded like. And then also the fact, who sends a picture? Why did she send a picture to this lady of her husband collapsed on the floor, but didn't call 911? Who does that? So all those things are suspicious of the defendant, make me suspicious of the defendant and make me think, this don't sound too good. But at the same time, Michael sounded like some type of hyped up steroid junkie. Rest in peace. So I think for every action that the prosecution is doing, the defense is absolutely counteracting, right? And it seemed like every time the prosecution try to make they point stick, the defense is doing its job and trying to and kind of minimize it. It is very bizarre, and it's kind of slow motion with it, but it's intriguing, and you have to kind of like listen to it. You can't just guess what's gonna happen next, what they gonna say. What about that comment that she made, that this lady say her friend made at the time? Because that was her friend. And it is strange as hell when you ask a friend, is there anything I could do? Because your husband in the hospital and gravely ill, and they say, yeah, help me hold the pillow over his face. I don't want to see him this way. Like a very weird way to put something. And why would she be having such a hard time seeing him that way at the hospital when you saw him unconscious on your couch all day and you didn't call 111? You saw him fall out and collapse on the floor in your kitchen, and you can watch that and don't call 911, but you can call the construction workers to come and move him to the couch, right? So it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on with this case, and we are just getting into it. It has all of the things, the factors that make a case, almost like a TV drama, but this is real drama. Yet again, we're dealing in a case with money, marriage, secrets, and murder. The Ponzi scheme wife trial. This has been part 1 here. We saw the opening statements, and we saw the first 2 of the state's witnesses. Both sides have made some points, and both sides have, but hey, it's interesting. So make sure y'all stay tuning in, unless it's some type of, let's pray that no one experiences any type of power outage or any type of mishaps with this cold front or whatever they call it, Arctic front coming through. As long as the internet and everything is on, I'll be on tomorrow at 11 a.m. Okay. So thank y'all for coming. If you have any comments, definitely let me know underneath this live. And look, and I'll see y'all tomorrow, and I'll see y'all tonight for the best of trial. We're still continuing with the burn trial. We have moved over to, we should be getting to one of them daughters testifying tonight. Okay. All right. Thank y'all for joining me. Y'all have a great and fantastic afternoon. Stay warm.
Thanks for watching. Do not forget click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Like, comment and share. See you next time.